Welcome to Connected Creativity. I'm your little host for the day, and we have got so much to do. So it's going to move pretty rapidly. If you're not used to that, you're used to sitting back and just relaxing, it's not going to work that way. I work at Jumpwire Media, own a company. We do cross-media stuff. That's all you need to know. We can talk later. This has been Anne's vision, who is the front, and she came and talked to me about it about 6 months ago, and she said, I want to do this. And I just never expected to be like, if you haven't been over to the hub, phenomenal. There's so much stuff going on this week. So the first thing I want to do is that we're all about networking. This is about, we are the new CEOs, people. We're the people that are going to make all the money. You're here to make money. We're going to do it. TV's not dead, but it's fading. And this is where the new part is, right? That was wrong, wasn't it? Did I say the wrong thing? We're at a TV conference, right? I'm okay. I'm going to take a moment. All right. I want you just to say hi to someone next to you you don't know. Go ahead. No, I'm giving you permission. Go ahead. Okay, I know you're all having awkward conversations now. So don't worry, I'm not going to make it go on forever. Okay, really? No, seriously. Seriously, guys, this is not a networking conference. I was wrong. Wrong about the TV, wrong about the networking. Give me a break. Okay, let's move on. Here is the, can I see in this one here? Just so I don't have to keep looking backwards? No, I'm not seeing, oh, don't worry about it. So you guys have to visit the hub. I'm going to tell you to visit two things, but each day we're going to tell you someone. First one you need to go to is Emotive, where they put the brain thing on. Just go and find the brain thing. It'll blow your mind. You sit there and you move rocks around without touching the screen. Fantastic. The second, what's the next slide? Right. So we've got a Foursquare mayor competition. How many people here are on Foursquare? Oh, thank you. We were worried. We're like, I don't know if anyone knows what Foursquare is. So if you don't know what Foursquare is, the friend you just met that may just put up their hand, they can teach you. You can win an iPad 2 if you become the mayor. If you're not sure what the mayor means, Google it, okay? This is a digital conference. I'm not going to explain everything to you. When you become the mayor, you win an iPad 2. If you really want the iPad 2, you'll figure it out. Okay, next one. We got a pub quiz going on. It's tomorrow, right? Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's tonight. It's tonight. I don't know what day it is. And well, yes, technically. I think that changed, didn't it? Oh, no. This is what it's like working with Anne in the digital world. It's just like, you're not doing this, you're doing this now. I'm like, okay, I got to get through this stuff because we want to. So the pub quiz is tonight. Please go. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you also want another cool thing to download, there's something called SoundCloud. It's an app on your iPhone. I'm not going to ask how many people have iPhones, but if you have an iPhone, download it. I think the SoundCloud guy is here. Is he? Where is he? He's not here yet. Okay, so download it, and then you can record a sound, and it puts it in a location, and you can tell people cool things about connected creativity. You can record me talking now. This guy was a total idiot, but I heard him here, right? And then it will go on the SoundCloud app, and you'll be able to hear it. Anyone will be able to hear it when they come here. Fantastic. What's the next one? Okay, we are also giving prizes for the most active tweeter, and the most active official MIP Markets mobile app user. If you're a heavy user, you could win. So, I don't know where my comedy comes from. Anyway. So over here, you'll see something called the Balloon app. This is this is fantastic. So on my iPad I have here, I can control what you guys say. So if you have a question, you can ask a question during the day. And then then they'll be moderated. Don't worry, you can't ask bad things. You'll see all the questions on the Balloon app, and then we'll select them during the day. And I'm going to do one in a minute, but my Wi-Fi. Is everyone okay with the Wi-Fi? Does everyone know how it works? Has everyone got the Wi-Fi? I see a lot of nodding, no nodding. People don't know what Wi-Fi is. Oh, good. Oh, good, because we were really worried about that. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, you're going to see lots of these little slides, and what we did is we put together a bunch of data and information. We did a lot of research, and the key is that we just want to give you a bit of an overview as we go into each session. This is the first one. The average American watches 30 minutes of online video compared to 5 hours of TV per day. And 75% of iPad users prefer seeing videos within online magazine ads. How many people have an iPad? Wow. Holy cow. How many of you guys have watched videos while watching on your online magazine ads? Yeah, I've done it. I admit it. I did. So let's move on to the, what else do I have to do? Is that it? This is fantastic. Okay, give me the slide. We have a fantastic presentation coming up for you. Oh, right. We have a cool video we did, and you'll know because this will reset every single time so that you know what's going on during the day. Oh, and last thing. Check underneath your seats. See, we have so much stuff going on. Check underneath your seats. Go ahead, reach under. You'll find some sort of yellow. Did anyone find it? Did anyone find them? There are going to be prizes all the time. Anyone find it? No? No one found the prizes? Does someone get it? It's like a, oh my God, you won. You won. Yeah, come on up. You get a prize. We've got some great sponsors giving us great stuff. So here you go. Right, thank you. Nice to meet you. It says you're the winner. Yeah, give me that. Great. And I'll pay this. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Now, did anyone else find the other one? Because this is what you would have got, the balloon.
I actually have the winner one. I thought it had dropped off my phone.
You got the winner? You want it? You get the balloon. You can give it to whoever you want. Okay. This is already crazy. Are you guys? Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next. We're going to go to the video, and then I'll be right back. We spent a lot of time on that. Now, we did. It's amazing. We were trying to decide, should it be blue, should it be red? Do you know how hard that is? Okay, let's move on. Up next, I've been looking forward to this presentation. The top consumer media trends in 2011. Nick Thomas, who's the senior analyst at Consumer Product and Research at Forrester Research. And if any of you are like me who love data, I spend a lot of time trying to steal Forrester Research. I'm a startup. I can't pay for it all. I'm so sorry, Nick. Let's give me a warm welcome. Bring Nick up on stage and let him do his presentation. Then I'll have some questions for him.
Thanks, Gavin. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, Can. Good afternoon, Connected Creativity. So I'm Nick Thomas, and I work for Forrester, a research and consulting organization, if you're not familiar with us. Our mission overall is to explain to our clients the impact of new technologies and the impact of changing consumer behavior around those technologies, what it means for their businesses and how we can help them. My focus is on the media industry. I've been an analyst about 4 years, and before that, I spent about 20 years as a journalist, editor, content creator, and content development. Can't quite compete with John in terms of that, but I did have a TV show that was very big in Sweden for a short time in the early 90s. I'm going to take you through some of our high-level thinking around consumer trends and some of the things we're seeing in the marketplace and what we think that means for the TV business in particular. And I'm going to start with a literary quotation. Don't do this every time, but anyone familiar with E.M. Forster's Howard's End? And there's no apostrophe. If you're a pedant, you'll know that there's no apostrophe in Howard's End. Anyone familiar with this from their English class will remember the key phrase that comes through in Howard's End that's associated forever with E.M. Forster as a writer, but it's one of those phrases that just resonates. And when you Google the phrase "only connect," you can see this coming up, especially in the 90s. Suddenly people started to see what this was. There was much discussion in literary circles about what only connect meant for E.M. Forster. We can see that 101 years on from Howard's End, the notion of only connect is really something that kind of unites this whole forum, I think. So only connect the prose and the passion, and both will be exalted, and human love will be seen at its height. Live in fragments no longer, only connect. Can't promise all of the above, but let's keep the notion of only connecting throughout the 3 days. I'm sure it will be a recurrent theme. What I want to start by sharing with you is some data we have on the content market. And we're all in the content business one way or another. We have people stealing our content, some of us. And we're all in the business of trying to connect with consumers, understanding what consumers will pay for, what consumers want from our content. And we surveyed 14,000 European consumers and said, okay, what kind of digital content have you paid for in the last month? And what kind of digital content would you pay for in future? And the only conclusion we can draw really is that much content is just simply failing to connect with consumers. It's failing to meet their needs. And the report we wrote out of this we called Can't Pay, Won't Pay. And digital content is just not working. You can see the bars in grey are the proportion of European internet users who say, yes, I've paid for digital content, or this kind of digital content in the last month. The blue bars are those who would pay. So what we see immediately is a disconnect. There are many caveats around this, but broadly speaking, we see a disconnect between what consumers want to pay for and what they are able to pay for. Now, a lot of this is down to availability. A lot of this content is simply not available. And for all the companies that have great strategies for preventing piracy, not many of them are actually providing consumers with what they want, which is the right content in the right place, on the right platform, at the right price. It's a much better long-term deterrent against piracy than just suing your fans and consumers. One of the issues is around availability. The other, really, that I want to talk about for the next sort of 15 minutes is really whether the kind of content that people are producing is actually appropriate, whether it's a good fit for what consumers want, what consumers now expect. Because consumers' expectation of content is changing. Audiences are behaving differently. New technology, new platforms allows them to behave differently, and it impacts their notion of what content is, of their relationship with that content. And if you're producing content to guidelines or rules or blueprints that worked 10, 20 years ago, then there's a strong chance you are not connecting with today's consumers. So here's just a snapshot, again from our surveys, of the kind of activities that people like to get up to. This is mainstream activities across European internet users. These things they do every month. They watch video from other users. They visit social networking sites. 43% do so at least monthly. And when you get into the younger users or in certain territories, these figures go much higher. This is internet users from, I think it's from 16 up, in this case 16 to 75 across Europe. So when you see younger consumers, these are even heightened. But look at all these activities. Reading online forums, discussion groups, reading blogs. 30% of consumers regularly read blogs. And the really interesting thing is that 21% of people comment on blogs. So 70% of the blog's audience interacts with blogs. The notion of the consumer, the word consumer, it implies some kind of passive reception of content. It's clearly no longer the case. People are interacting with content. And these things are becoming mainstream. This is not early adopters. We've gone beyond that. The conclusion really is that, content is social. Social content is what many people I know are talking about in the next 3 days. But content for many users is a social experience. In some ways it always has been. If you go to the cinema, if you go to a gig, you go to the theatre, it's a social experience, and it's no coincidence that those live activities have actually performed better in the harsh economic times than physical media. People want a social experience around their content. And let's call out Facebook specifically at this point. I know other speakers are addressing this, but just from our research. So we see Facebook as blurring the boundaries, blurring the definition of content. What is content? Is it a TV program, a 30-minute TV program, or 23-minute TV program? Is it a movie? Is it what your friends are doing? We have, in the TV industry, traditionally, in many media industries, there's a very clear distinction between, sort of Twitter feeds or Facebook status updates and what we would call content. Those definitions for many users are blurring, and that's a profound impact. That has a profound impact on the content industry. The other thing about Facebook, of course, is now an important platform for consuming content. It's not, and I know that Christian from Facebook is speaking tomorrow, he will probably continue to say that it is not they are not in the content business, but they are an important content platform. Facebook is now one of the top 5 sites for viewing videos in the US and in Europe. And I think it's the daily nature, the repeat visits of Facebook that have made it so important, especially for young users. We have data across Europe, but just to pull out for the UK, for example, so 24% of UK internet users, and this is going across all ages, so again, heightened when you get younger, 24% visit daily. Facebook dominates social networking in the UK, and it is the primary portal. It is the way that people go online to access entertainment, information, news, etc. And then just call out the notion of multitasking here, and new content ecosystems that consumers are creating. I thought John's example was really interesting about how he actually adapted the content in response to feedback from his fans, from Justin Bieber's fans. That was really interesting. And we see, especially among these young users, we see this in our data too. So let's step back. We have data that says that in Europe, around 50% of people are regularly online when they're watching TV. Now, that tells me there's a problem with the TV industry in terms of measurement, in terms of measuring engagement, because most of those users, especially older users, aren't watching TV. They're checking their email, they're browsing the web, they're doing something unrelated to what's on TV. When you get among younger users, you can see a real uptick in the kind of related activities. People talking to their friends about the content that's on TV, people looking up links, following links, looking for additional content. So when we looked at 16 to 24-year-olds, of those multitaskers, over 40% are now interacting with their friends around the content. And we've seen the Twitter feeds come through. But people are watching TV, they're going on Twitter, Facebook, Instant Messenger, they're just talking about that content. They're creating their own multi-screen content experiences. Now, broadcasters are trying to play catch-up now, and I watched Glee last night, and they call out the hashtag, and they're trying to harness this. But it's happening. Social content. Content is social. And when we talk about these disruptive consumer trends, and we do a lot of work around disruptive consumer trends, and there are many of them, the first question is, how will this hit my business? But turn this round. How can you harness these trends to create new opportunities? Connected TVs is another great opportunity. It's something we've done a lot of research and a lot of work on. And let me just share with you what we found when we asked users in Europe and the US. We asked the same set of questions. What do you want from connected TVs? Now, obviously, connected TVs are becoming a mainstream proposition in stores now, and in the next couple of years, pretty much your default TV will have internet connectivity as an option, as a feature. So what did consumers want from this? Did they want to go on YouTube? Did they want to go on Facebook? Actually, they wanted more content. They wanted more movies. They wanted more TV. And one thing that struck us, the most popular category of content that users wanted via connected TV was 3D TV, which we were really surprised by. But connected TVs are coming. They're going to change the landscape. But this is a landscape where consumers are already connected. As you can see from this chart, and actually this chart needs updating. It's already a year old, but we can see that 98 million European consumers already have 4 connected devices, internet-enabled devices in their household. And this number is growing all the time. So the TV becomes perhaps the hub of this connected device experience, but really important. But connectivity, I know it's a huge theme for this forum, and that comes through in all our research. Connectivity is a massive theme. And European consumers are already adopting it. The technology is falling into place. And Google TV, we all know about Google TV, and this may yet be the future of TV. It may not be the future of TV. We think Google TV is onto something. Now, I know Google TV's strategy originally was to acquire lots of content and become a more mainstream media player, and the content owners said, no, we're going to sit on our hands. We're not going to let Google take over our turf. It doesn't matter. Google doesn't own any content with its paid online search. It still dominates. It takes all the revenue. So it's coming. And here I'll just use the quote that I'm sure others will use. It's a classic quote, but it's really appropriate in this scenario, which is that we generally overestimate the short-term impact of new technology, but underestimate its long-term impact. I think if I come back in 10 years' time, if we're all here and you invite me, we can talk about the impact of Google TV. I could go into the whole separate issue around apps and the adoption of apps. Just to throw another stat at you, we forecast that by 2015, the app market globally will be worth $38 billion. Now here, this is where it gets interesting, because we're not talking about the future. Yes, we're talking about connected TVs. That seems some way off. In the UK, Android phones have just overtaken Apple as the most popular smartphone. And an Android phone will become your universal remote control. You don't need to use the connectivity on the TV. You don't need to control the TV through the TV. You control it through a device that many people already own, already use. These are the kind of experiences that customers are taking to, that customers understand intuitively. I talked about those users who were online, those young users on their mobile phone, on a laptop, on a tablet, talking about the content that's on TV. That's not, we used to talk about three-screen experience, where you could say, hey, you could watch online video on a PC, you can watch it on a mobile phone, you can watch it on a TV. Actually, this is multiple screens at the same time. This is much more interesting.
Nick, can I just jump in really quickly? You talk about 3D TV, you talk about connected TV, and yet, we've been talking about 3D TV for 3 or 4 years now. And I don't know how many people own 3D TVs. I'm not going to ever buy one because I have to put on glasses. Can you give us some insight into what's happening? Because I think you made a really good point there, saying that it's all about the long term. And Google TV and the apps. There's also a question on Balloon which says, paid digital content is not working in Europe. Is it the same for Canada and the USA? So if you could just maybe loop a little bit of those in what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So let's address 3D. And I've just published a report yesterday about the future of 3D in Europe. And we see a huge demand for it. But there's a huge obstacle to 3D adoption, which is the necessity to buy a 3D TV, the glasses, which is a huge problem. But most importantly, I think, is the pipeline of 3D-enabled premium TV content and movie content. Hollywood made 25 3D movies last year. Fantastic. And we saw from John, when they get it right, an audience can really connect with that. You can't build a subscription channel based around 25 movies. You need a pipeline of content, and that's not going to happen. I don't see that's going to happen until something else happens. Where we see 3D opportunities, actually, primarily around gaming. Gaming will drive 3D uptake. So we'll use the generated video from 3D cameras. 3D mobile phones are just coming to the market. And if those start to take off, it could be user-generated 3D content that becomes more interesting. And the glasses is still a problem. That's why I think gaming as an individual immersive experience is more important.
About how it leads everything, and it's definitely leading TV. So as you move into like Connect and those sorts of things, I mean, no one really talks about this, but this device had Connect had much higher uptake than iPad, iPhone, and yet we don't talk about it. Is it what is this? What are you guys seeing in your research? Why do people want to talk about iPads and iPhones, but not talk about the fact they've got to Connect?
Well, just to be fair, we've done a report about the Connect as a hugely important consumer product, one of the most disruptive consumer products, up there with the iPad in terms of changing our expectations of how we interact with content.
Is it because it's Microsoft? Is that the problem?
I think that's
that's
genuine. That's a genuinely good point. That's a genuinely good point. Microsoft has been playing catch up for the last decade, and yet they've come out with a really game-changing, excuse the pun, a game-changing device. And so I think from the kind of bubble of people that follow these things, there was a sort of surprise that Microsoft have done this. If you're a consumer and you don't care about Microsoft's previous history, you just think, hey, what a great experience. This is fantastic. I want one. And that's what people have done. 10 million sold in 3 months. So,
but there's not. I mean, the interesting thing is when you compare it to television, you say 25 only 3D movies. There are not. I mean, there's lots of games, but comparing it to the content that's created in television and movies, it's not anywhere near that, right? So that's why I'm trying to understand this whole content scenario where we're saying you need content, but yet people are buying these things, and there wasn't a lot of content for Connect yet.
The best-selling entertainment product in 2010, as everyone knows, was Call of Duty Black Ops, which was 3D enabled. And you know, rather than a 90-minute 3D movie that cost $100 million, you've got a game which can absorb you for 40, 50 hours. And I've forgotten how many it sold, but we know, squillions. So there's a difference between, you know, having one movie that lasts 90 minutes and one game that can absorb you for a week.
So in TV, how do we replicate that? Do we have to make more? Like, what do we have to do in the content business to make it more like gaming?
I know that someone is talking about gamification, and that's another theme for another speech, and that's really interesting. I think there are many lessons to be learned from the games industry about how you reward loyalty, how you bring people into the play, how you create an immersive experience. 3D is an immersive experience, and we've seen from that the stat I mentioned about TV consumption, that for many consumers, TV is not immersive. It's on in the background, and people look up when something's happening. That's not an industry that has a glittering future if that's the degree of engagement. So actually immersive experiences are really what the TV industry needs, and there are a lot of lessons that can be learned from the gaming industry, I think.
I'll let you carry on.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, actually, that segues neatly into this slide, I think. I just want to talk about Connect briefly. I think we've discussed it, but just this is not, and these guys have a stand in the Experience Hub, so go and talk to PrimeSense, and I know they're speaking tomorrow. They can talk to you about the other applications of this technology. It's licensed to Microsoft for gaming only. Other applications available. This will change things profoundly. Let's just think about smartphones and tablets, not as rivals to PCs, but as fundamentally different devices. We don't use a keyboard, we don't use a mouse, we use our fingers, we touch. It's an intuitive experience. It's an immersive experience. It's an addictive experience. It's a much more personal experience to interact physically with the screen in front of you. What Kinect allows us to do is to interact in that way with our TV. And I think once this goes beyond gaming, especially from the previous slide, we realize what I didn't call out, but what is kind of there as the great elephant in the room, is how do you find content on a connected TV when there are hundreds, thousands of channels and providers and suppliers? The barriers to entry are lower. Marketers are creating great content, but how do you find it? Navigation is crucial. Google will be important, but so will Connect. The notion that you just point at your TV, you navigate using touch, becomes an immersive, personal experience. Quite a sensory experience. That's really quite profound. So I think Connect is really important in terms of changing the way we interact with content. And I just want to touch on that notion of experience. We've written around the era of experience, which is a big idea which I can't do justice to in this short time. But we've moved from an era of distribution where all the focus was around distribution. Actually, we are moving to an era of experience. Experience is what makes the difference. Content alone is not enough. It's the experience the consumer has of that content across devices. Experience is your product.
We got a minute. We got a few seconds left, so.
Okay. We can wrap up here. I'll rattle through this. So what I want to talk about, I didn't get a chance to nail it completely, but we're talking around what we see in our consumer trends in terms of where consumers are going, is that content alone is not enough. It's around total product experiences. So build those great product experiences. You talked about US examples, successful companies. Look at Netflix. Look at Amazon. Amazon is now also the biggest VOD aggregator in Europe. They don't just digitize the content, they digitize the customer relationship. The experience is profound. The experience changes when you interact with Netflix or you interact with Amazon. And I'll move forward from these. This was the checklist of things you need to have in your content to make it relevant, to meet consumer needs, to meet consumer trends, to be relevant for the 21st century. It needs to be social, participative, accessible, relevant. It needs to be connected. You need to listen. You need to connect. If you go 2 seconds on this slide, this is Venice, as you know. And before this bridge was built, there were 2 separate trading islands that were moderately successful. When the Rialto Bridge was built, this coincided, or this led to Venice being the world's global trading power. Physical connection made all the difference. So connect to your consumers, understand what they're doing, connect them with each other, connect them to your content across devices, and you'll succeed. You'll create relevant content that people want to engage with. Thank you.